When I was a kid, I used to think that pork chops and karate chops were the same thing. I thought they were both pork chops. And because my grandmother thought it was cute, and because they were my favorite, she kept letting me doing it. Not really a big deal. One day, before I realized fat kids were not designed to climb trees, I fell out of a tree and bruised the right side of my body. I didn't want to tell my grandmother about it because I was afraid to get into trouble for playing somewhere that I shouldn't have been. A few days later, the gym teacher noticed the bruise, and I got sent to the principal's office. From there, I was sent to another small room with a really nice lady who asked me all kinds of questions about my life at home. I saw no reason to lie. As far as I was concerned, life is pretty good. I told her, whenever I'm sad, my mother always gives me karate chops. This led to a full-scale investigation, and I was removed from the house for 3 days, until they finally decided to ask how I got the bruises. News of the silly story quickly spread throughout the school, and I earned my first nickname, Pork Chop. To this day, I hate pork chops. I'm not the only kid who grew up this way, surrounded by people who used to say that rhyme about sticks and stones, as if broken bones hurt more than the names we got called, and we got called them all, so we grew up believing nobody would ever fall in love with us, that we'd be lonely forever, that we'd never meet someone to make us feel like the sun was something that they built for us in their tool shed. So broken heartstrings bled the blues, and as we tried to empty ourselves so we would feel nothing. Don't tell me that hurts less than a broken bone. That an ingrown life is something surgeons can cut away, that there's no way for it to metallicize. It does. She was 8 years old. Our first day of grade 3, she got called ugly. We both got moved to the back of the class so we would stop getting bombarded by spitballs. But the school halls were a battleground where we found ourselves numbered day after wretched day. We used to stay inside for recess, because outside was worse. Outside, we'd have to rehearse running away or learn to stay like statues, giving no clues that we were there. In grade 5, they typed a sign to the front of her desk that said, "Beware of dog." To this day, despite a loving husband, she doesn't think that she's beautiful because of a birthmark that takes up a little less than half of her face. Kids used to say that she looks like a wrong answer that somebody tried to erase but couldn't quite get the job done. And they'll never understand that she's raising 2 kids whose definition of beauty begins with the word mom. Because they see her heart before they see her skin, and she's only ever been amazing. He was a broken branch grafted onto a different tree, adopted. But not because of his parents who opted out for a different destiny. He was 3 when he became a mixed drink, 1 part left alone and 2 parts tragedy. Started therapy in grade 8 and had personality made up of tests and pills. Lived like the hills were mountains and the downhills were cliffs. 4/5 suicidal, a tidal wave of antidepressants, and an indolence of being called pauper, 1 because of pills and 99 parts because of cruelty. He tried to kill himself in grade 10. When a kid who still had his mom and dad had the audacity to tell him, "Get over it." As if depression is something that can be remedied by only the contents found in a first aid kit. To this day, he is a stick of TNT lit from both ends. He could describe to you in detail the way the sky blends in the moments before it was all about to fall. And despite of an army of friends who call him an inspiration, he remains a conversation piece between people who cannot understand. Sometimes being drug-free has less to do with addiction and more to do with sanity. We weren't the only kids who grew up this way. To this day, kids are still being called names. The classics were, "Hey stupid," "Hey spaz." Seems like every school has an arsenal of names getting updated every year. And if a kid breaks in school and no one around chooses to hear, do they make a sound? Or are they just background noise of a soundtrack stuck on repeat when kids say things like, "Kids can be cruel"? Every school was a big top circus tent. And the pecking order went from acrobats to lion tamers, from clowns to carnies. All of these were miles ahead of who we were, and we were freaks. Lobster claw boys and bearded ladies. Oddities, juggling depression and loneliness, playing spin the bottle, trying to kiss the wounded parts of ourselves and heal. But at night, while others slept, we kept walking the tightrope. It was practice, and yeah, some of us fell. But I want to tell them that all of this shit is just debris. Left over when we finally decide to smash all the things we thought we used to be. And if you can't see anything beautiful about yourself, get a better mirror. Look a little closer. Stare a little longer. Because there's something inside of you that made you keep trying despite everyone who told you to quit. You built a cast around your heart and you signed it yourself. You signed it, they were wrong. Because maybe you didn't belong to a group or a clique. Maybe they decided to pick you for last, for basketball or everything. Maybe you used to bring bruises and broken teeth to show but never told. Because how can you hold your ground when everyone around you is trying to bury you beneath it? You have to believe they were wrong. They have to be wrong. Why else would we still be here? We grew up learning to cheer on the underdog. Because we see ourselves in them. We stem from a root planted into belief that we are not what we are called. We are not abandoned cars stalled out and sitting empty on a highway. And if in some way we are, don't worry. We only got out to get gas. We are the graduating members of the class of We Made It. Not the faded echoes of voices crying out names will never hurt me. Of course, they did. But our lives will only ever always continue to be a balancing act that has less to do with pain and more to do with beauty.